everybody, how are you today? Welcome to A Story and Art for Keeping It Real. It is a premiere night. I am off with my sisters on our annual Sister Summer Solstice celebration, which just so happens to start on the same day that we are celebrating a national holiday, our newest national holiday, federal holiday, Juneteenth. So I wanted to do a special story and art for that event and for that celebration and that holiday to honor that. It's a wonderful holiday that, as I said, a proclamation to honor. And I'm really delighted to have a story that fits perfectly with this. So I'm going to jump right into it and tell you a little bit about, first off, Juneteenth. There's some history behind it that I think is really important for everybody to be aware of and to know. So Juneteenth is our newest federal holiday, but it is a holiday that has been celebrated since, let's see if I can go back here, 1865. So it is Proclamation Day and an annual commemoration of the end of slavery in the United States after the Civil War has been celebrated by African Americans since the late 1800s. President Biden signed the legislation last year that made Juneteenth, which falls on June 19th, a federal holiday. And let's see, this was written in 2020, so he signed that in 2020. A federal holiday after interest in the day was renewed during the summer of 2020 and a nationwide protests that followed the police killings of Black Americans, including George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Dark day in our history. There has been a noticeable increase in Juneteenth celebrations across the United States over the past few years, with this year's holiday coming just over a month after there was another horrendous killing. One of the it was decided that it needed to become a federal and something that we all needed to honor. So on June, I'm going to go into the history of how it started. On June 19th in 1865, about 2 months after the Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered in Appomattox, Virginia, Gordon Granger, a Union general, arrived in Galveston, Texas, to inform enslaved African Americans of their freedom and that the Civil War had ended. General Granger's announcement put into effect the Emancipation Proclamation, which had been issued more than 2.5 years earlier, on January 1st of 1863 by President Abraham Lincoln. The holiday is also called Juneteenth, Independence Day, Freedom Day, or Emancipation Day. So that is how it all came about. And the story, though, that I have to read today is written and illustrated by an amazing author illustrator who passed away at the age of 65. Let's see, in 2021. And Floyd Cooper was the illustrator of Black Life for Children. He sought to revive and recount chapters of African American history that he felt weren't taught enough in classrooms, which I completely, as a elementary teacher for 35 years, completely agree. He celebrated children's book illustrator, explored the African American experience and stories rooted in history. And his wife, Velma Cooper, said that he died of cancer. For over 30 years and some 100 titles, Mr. Cooper illustrated children's stories that not only carried his earthy and golden pastel impressions of Black life, but also strived to recount chapters of African American history that he felt weren't taught enough in classrooms, if they were taught at all. And if you've been with story and art at all, in the stories that I've read through the past, we're on, this would be 214 days, I think this one is. There are so many books that I've read that the people who have been on these stories and lives have said, why didn't I know about this? Why wasn't this taught in school? Where were these? And there's so many areas of our history that, and people that were glossed over or whitewashed, if you want to use that term. And this, I find it just absolutely wonderful that children's books can be a way that those parts of our history can be brought to light and can be brought to the forefront, and we can actually see another path in the history books and another story be told. And Floyd Cooper was excellent at that. His books, Brick by Brick, so many more that he hid, Becoming Billie Holiday, so many books. But the book that I'm going to read today is back here on his website. Let's go see what it says about Floyd. If it even, yeah, this is as far as it goes on his website now, and it's been stopped down. There's no more links in it, but this shows the wonderful picture at the beginning. His artwork is amazing, and the pastels, you're going to love it. The book that I have to read today is called Juneteenth for Maisie, and it is right here, and I think you're going to love it. Juneteenth for Maisie by Floyd Cooper. Maisie wants to play outside, but it is too late. It's getting dark, Maisie. It's time to stay inside. Maisie wants a cookie, but it's time for bed. Not now, little one. It's too close to bedtime. Maisie wants to stay up late, but she's too little. Bedtime is the rule, sweet girl. Why so grumpy, Sugar Bear? Asks Dad. I can't go where I want, have what I want, or do what I want, answers Maisie. Well, tomorrow you can have a celebration, says Dad. What are we celebrating? Asks Maisie. We will celebrate the day your great-great-great-grandpa Mose crossed into liberty. The day will be celebrated by us and many more families on a day we call Juneteenth. Dad lifts Maisie into his arms. I bet you're tired of hearing no all the time. Well, great-great-great-grandpa Mose heard no even more. Grandpa Mose worked in the fields that stretched all the way to sunset. He and the other slaves would be so bone tired, but they had to keep going. Their masters wouldn't let them quit. But as they worked, they thought about freedom. And before they finally went to sleep at night, they prayed about freedom and made plans for change and a better future. Some slaves ran north to freedom, following a bright star in the sky. They sweat, they bled, and they cried till those cries were quieted by a single proclamation from a brave president. Grandpa Mose heard that proclamation read from the balcony of the hotel on that warm June day in Galveston, Texas. Grandpa Mose heard nothing but cheers, saw nothing but happiness, and felt nothing but pride shared by all those around him. The cheers became dancing, the dancing became celebrating, and it went on and on and on into the night. Grandpa Mose and the others had found freedom. They continued to work, but this time they were paid for their hard work. So they worked, and they saved, and they never forgot. The moment they heard, the moment that changed their lives forever. But things weren't perfect. Black people still struggled to stand shoulder to shoulder with white people. They still weren't treated as equals. It wasn't easy, but they never gave up. And every year, on Juneteenth, they remembered. They marched for jobs. They lobbied for schools and the right to vote. And they shouted for opportunity. And every year on Juneteenth, they celebrated and remembered. They learned and they grew. They forgave. They excelled and achieved. They became heroes. Now, sweet Maisie, it's your turn to celebrate, just like your great-great-great-grandpa Mose. It's your turn, Maisie, to eat some barbecue and drink some strawberry pop. It's your turn to celebrate and to remember. On June 19th, 1865, soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, announcing the end of the Civil War and the end of slavery in the United States. It was more than 2 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation. Celebrated every year on June 19th, Juneteenth commemorates the announcement of the abolition of slavery and the emancipation of African American citizens throughout the entire United States. And that is the story of Juneteenth for Maisie. And that's today's federal holiday, Juneteenth. Let's all remember that day. It's a day to remember, and it's a day to honor. It's a day that freedom that never should have been taken was given back. And we should remember that freedom is part of everyone's right. And we're all people. So let's celebrate that and enjoy Juneteenth, remember it, honor it, and just be thankful that it happened and that we keep fighting for that freedom for all of us. Well, on that, thank you for being here for Story and Art and for this wonderful book by Floyd Cooper. Hopefully you'll check out some of his other work. His books, let's see if I can find some other things that he has. Floyd Cooper books. Oh, there, Floyd Cooper. What other books did he have? Unspeakable, The Tulsa Race. Oh, he did the Blacker the Berry, Max and the Tagalog Moon, Juneteenth. What else? His books. I Have Heard of a Land. Meet Denitra Brown. He did the illustrations for Meet Denitra Brown, which is by Nikki Grimes. And Nikki, that was, oh my gosh, Nikki used to live here in Seattle. I met her years ago. Just an amazing author. And it's Meet Denitra Brown is just jump. Sister and champion. Brown Honey, Back of the Bus, The Ring Bearer, and Queen of the Track. His books are amazing. Well worth taking a look. Go hit your library, check some out, and, they'll be there. And you can always put them on hold, find them. They're really easy to get, and enjoy some of this beautiful literature that you find in children's literature. So until next time, you guys, keep looking for the beauty hidden in plain sight. It's all around you. But the first place you'll probably find it is if you go look in the mirror and say, "Hey, beautiful." See you next time.
All we need is a place to be and a few good friends for some company. If you'd like to stay, you don't have to leave. We'll leave the lights on and the door unlocked. If you drop on by, you don't have to knock. We're happy to share whatever we've got.